The flower shook slightly, and I grasped the moment he spoke. "Celine Ward, your time is finished." It was his first day wearing the suit of power, his first command as CEO, and I was a chosen sacrifice. I didn't flinch. I set the bouquet, white lilies meant for his desk, on the table between us. Their stems left moisture on my skin, cool and slick, like a blade quietly sliding into my back. But what he didn't know was that 2 days earlier, I'd attended a meeting he never learned about. That was his miscalculation. I had first crossed paths with Adrian 4 years ago, when his handshake carried uncertainty rather than pride. Back then, he was only a mid-level strategist, tucked safely under my guidance. I was the one who showed him the inner currents of this corporation, the predators hidden behind polite boardroom smiles. He was clever, driven, a little reckless. In those days, he looked at me as if I were his compass. And now, he was determined to erase me from a map. I saw the change long before the board's vote. His questions stopped. His calendar filled with shadows I was excluded from. He laughed too easily in meetings, often at things I hadn't said. Then came the slip. His secretary mistakenly forwarded me a draft speech. 3 words froze my lungs. When I take over, his betrayal wasn't sudden. It was a slow bleed. He fed pieces of my projects to others, chipped away at my authority, and gathered allies in the dark. When the board finally crowned him, he didn't hesitate to cast me aside. But what he overlooked was that I had seen the knife coming, and I had sharpened my own. My counter began with silence. I didn't resist when whispers spread that I was tired, finished, obsolete. I let him believe I still trusted him. 2 days before his coronation, I arranged a quiet dinner with Victor Hahn, the investor Adrian thought he owned. Across the table, I slid him a file Adrian had signed 3 months earlier, a reckless acquisition, bloated in value, fragile to the core. One hidden clause tied Adrian's personal fortune to the fallout if it collapsed. Victor's eyes gleamed. "Why give this to me?" "Because loyalty deserves to be rewarded," I replied. The next morning, I walked into HR and signed a severance agreement Adrian hadn't noticed. An old friend had slipped it onto his paperwork, and he had signed it blindly. It guaranteed me not just a generous payout, but full retention of my company's shares. He thought he was tossing me out like garbage, when in reality, he had handed me the trigger. So when he dismissed me, lilies trembling between us, I simply nodded. "I understand," I said quietly. Then I walked away. I let him enjoy his triumph. The board praised his decisive first act. He thought the empire was now his. The following morning, his secretary burst into my apartment, breathless and flushed. "Celine, you need to see this." She thrust her tablet into my hands. Stock prices plummeting. Headlines blaring. Victor had leaked the acquisition deal, Adrian's deal, to the press. Analysts called it reckless, destructive. Investors demanded blood. I sipped my coffee, warmth filling my chest. The end game wasn't dramatic. It was a meeting. A week later, the board assembled in panic. Adrian walked in pale, his tie loosened, eyes raw from sleepless nights. He tried to speak of long-term vision. No one cared. Then I entered, not as an employee, but as the second largest shareholder in the room. "Ms. Ward," the chairman greeted, relief washing across the table. They crave stability. They crave control. I let silence linger before speaking. What this company needs isn't lofty vision. It needs discipline. Someone who knows its blood and bones. Adrian's eyes burned. "You planned this?" I met his gaze. "I taught you everything you know. Not everything I know." The vote took less than an hour. Adrian was stripped of authority, his personal wealth shackled to the failed acquisition. His empire crumbled as he sat across from me, finally realizing the trap had been laid long before his first day as CEO. Afterward, he cornered me in the hallway, desperation cracking through his voice. "Why, I admired you." I adjusted my coat, meeting his stare one final time. "You admired me until you thought you could replace me. You should have remembered who taught you the rules of this game." I left him there, trembling, undone, his crown already slipping. Now, the lilies he never kept still linger in my memory, pale and fragile against the dark wood of his desk. Not tokens of celebration, but emblems of mourning. He mistook them for a gift. In truth, they were a warning. That day I lost nothing. He lost everything. And the sweetest part? I never even had to raise my voice.